Like if you're in the old model of the Industrial Revolution, the public school system, I mean, it was there to train people to be good employees. But the AI world is much more geared towards entrepreneurs. And these are people that are intrinsically motivated, who can come up with a direction to go on their own. So instead of what's the correct answer to the question, an entrepreneur is saying, what is the question?
Welcome back to the Catholic Founders Podcast. I'm your host, Silas Maynor. Catholic Founders is on a mission to help Catholics launch and grow their businesses in a way that helps them become saints because of running their businesses, rather than in spite of their businesses. As Catholic entrepreneurs, we are not just created to achieve some sort of earthly fame or glory or a monetary pile. We are called to be instruments of God's will in the world and to bring glory to Him. So that's what we're here, and that's what we're all about. All right, folks, today we are sharing an episode that we recorded in person at the YCP conference in Dallas a while back. I was joined by Edmund Mitchell. He and I had a lot of fun, probably because in so many ways we are very similar personalities, both just loaded with ADHD ideas and energy. You kind of get the picture. But I learned about Edmund because he recently hosted a debate between Mark Barnes and Matthew Harvey Sanders about AI on his podcast called The Faith and AI Project. If you're unfamiliar, there was a little bit of a tiff, and there still kind of is, between Mark and Matthew, because Mark came out with a piece called Delete Magisterium AI. Obviously, Matthew is the creator of Magisterium AI, and he's very pro-AI. At least pro-Catholics being involved in AI. So highly recommend checking out that debate. It's very worthwhile. Both men have very interesting points. I think you'll leave more informed than before you listen to it. Anyways, I had a lot of fun recording this conversation. I think you will enjoy listening to. If you have not already, go check out his podcast, Edmund's podcast, The Faith and AI Project. And also do us a favor by subscribing on YouTube. It'll help us get more discoverability so that more people can learn about what we're doing, what we're talking about, the conversations we're having. If you enjoy this work and you think other people should know, really, I seriously mean this, please go, take a few seconds of your day to go subscribe on YouTube. It'll really help us to increase the reach. All right, enjoy the show. All right. Welcome to the pod, Edmund. How you doing?
Great to be here, Silas.
Yes, super excited to meet you in person. I'm very happy that Will introduced us very last minute. Was that yesterday or 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've had a long relationship.
Yeah, we know each other super, super well. We go way back, about 2 days.
But I checked out your site, and I think we have a lot in common.
I think we have a lot of stuff to talk.
Interests.
I didn't necessarily prep a whole lot because I think that there's a lot of stuff that we'll get into. Let's just start with this. For anybody who is not familiar with what you do, tell us who you are, what you do, and plug some of your work so people know kind of what you're up to and they can check it out.
Yeah, my name is Edmund Mitchell. I think I say now that I'm a freelance content creator and brand strategist, and I do some consulting and client work. I, like maybe many of us, have lots of projects, maybe too many projects, but the big ones are I work on a lot of projects with this agency called Digital Continent, Edmundo Reyes, who's a brilliant man and a close friend. I work on some projects with him, Faith and AI, which is
I've seen that, yes.
Yeah, which is like trying to navigate that this like new digital AI age. Also, for 4 years, we did a project called, and we're still doing it, but we did a project called Real and True, which is digital interpretation or just digital content based on the Catechism of the Catholic Church. And it was it's a global initiative that was recognized by the Vatican. So that was amazing. And then I do some consulting work. And then myself personally, I help Catholics turn their obsessions into intellectual property, authority, and income. That's really what I'm excited about. And the main active research that I'm doing right now is applying Catholic anthropology to modern marketing.
Okay, I like this. So there's a lot of things I want to ask you about. I think the first thing is, where did you get started? Like, what was your entrepreneurial journey? Because you're doing all sorts of things. I think a lot of us can fall into that bucket, but it all starts somewhere. So what was that origin for you? Did you always want to be a business owner? Was your dad a business owner? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw some statistics the other day that like 80% or something of entrepreneurs have ADHD. So yeah, and so I was undiagnosed until in my late 30s. But I think where everything really started was my freshman year of college at Georgia Tech in a Barnes and Noble bookstore. I was studying biomedical engineering because I wanted to be smart and rich, and that was the best school I could get into. Lots of other schools denied me. I was like a B+ kid. But sitting in this Barnes and Noble bookstore, I had become obsessed with Scott Hahn books. And so I'm reading Scott Hahn books, but I also was picking up a lot of business books. And when I read certain types of entrepreneurial books like Tim Ferriss and some of
Yeah.
the people we love, um, it felt like I'd found people that are like me, people that want to challenge and question rules, want to create their own
Yeah.
kind of autonomy. And so that kind of set off this path. And then for 10 years, I was in parish ministry, secretly reading entrepreneur books on the side and doing projects on the side and things like that. And it's crazy how the business entrepreneur books helped me in ministry, and my Catholic like theology and catechetical training and a Catholic anthropology and worldview helped marketing and storytelling. And so, yeah, 10 or 12 years in, my part-time stuff went full-time, and I felt called to leave parish ministry because I was kind of frustrated with the pastor at the time, and just took the leap. And I've been doing it for over 6 or 7 years now. And I don't know how it's still working because it's scary. It's scary to just go out and support yourself with random ideas.
What was it like when you did take the leap? Because everybody, they imagine what it's going to be like, and it's totally different once you go. Like, did just having space and time to do entrepreneurship like lead you to making the income you needed? Like, did you burn through your savings? Like, what was it like those first few months after you took the leap? And what did you do? Like, what was that specific first venture?
Yeah, the first venture was I tried starting I ran an agency for about 2 years. So I learned really quickly that being an independent freelancer, it's more advantageous to kind of like team up with people and kind of build this like agency model. So I did that for a bit, and it was just purely through word of mouth and different Catholic companies or nonprofits and stuff like that. And I wasn't really sure what exactly to focus on. But yeah, I didn't do it exactly right. I should have overlapped. Like I should have built up on the side before I left the ministry, but I just felt like God was like, you need to quit soon. And I just put in my 2 weeks notice and quit. So it was hard. And I think those first 2 years, really learning how you scale things, how you manage your time, those first 2 years it was crazy. It was like, 35-hour days somehow. And over time, like finding what my unique contribution could be, because at first you kind of feel like maybe you're a generalist. And I think over time, like experiencing different types of work and different types of fields. And I think I started narrowing in where, now I think I could say I'm more in the Catholic creator economy.
So you kind of have like, you've narrowed down to a perspective, I guess. I had a relatively clear idea when I started mine because I was in recruiting, and I knew that my wife was expecting. We had just moved back to Wisconsin. We were within a year of getting married. So it's like all the things you shouldn't be doing. And it was very obvious to me that God was saying like, this is the opportunity to go start. And I knew I was going to do a recruiting business because I wasn't going to try something I don't know can make money. I was going to try something I know I have a skill at. But I know a lot of people go through that phase of having kind of a gist of it, but they have to find like how to sort through and figure out what it is the thing to focus on, because then you can go after it with a lot of vigor and make some money to provide for your family. So what was that like for you? Like, how long did it take you? And what were the core things that you wish you would have done? Like, or you tell yourself if you were to go through that again?
Yeah. So the question is how to find maybe like your niche or your specialty.
Like what are the guideposts, or what's the map as you go out with the uncertainty?
Well, I mean, it's just that, it's a balancing act between what's possible or opportunity and what you actually want to do. And I think that's kind of the trade-off. At the beginning, you're maybe having to do a lot more of stuff that isn't exactly what you want to do. At least this is in my experience. It isn't exactly what you want to do, but as you build expertise, you're defining your kind of core mission. When I work with people, I'm often saying like, if you could pick one question that you could devote the next 5 years to being really passionate about, what would be that question? What would be that challenge? I don't know do you know Richard Feynman, the physicist?
I know the name. Yeah, I don't know anything about him.
So he has this idea of his top 12 favorite questions. And at any time, he just has these 12 questions. And I like, kind of trying to narrow that down to one or two. And everything you consume or read or come across, you're kind of putting them and comparing them to your favorite questions. And so that starts becoming your life's work for the short term, saying like, I think for right now, maybe not for the next 20 years, but for right now, this is my life's work, is this topic.
Yeah. That's a good, I mean, I talk about this a lot on the show. We have particular unique callings. We talked about it on every single episode today that we've recorded. I should give a shout out, by the way, to Will and the guys at FIO for helping us put this on at the YCP conference. But it's this idea that we have something unique, and God has set us up in those moments to pursue something specific. And by being afraid, what we often do is we say, I'll be a generalist and I'll do like, I'll serve this whole market. I'll do marketing broadly. And in reality, it's like you're better off financially as well picking a thing and sticking to it, because then you're known for it and then people remember you for that thing and it really starts to compound. But you have to have some level of conviction and just give it. But usually we're afraid and we say, no. I'm just going to be like, do whatever because I'll take whatever comes through the door.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think it's also like a framing thing, because as someone who had undiagnosed ADHD for most of my life, people would always say, well, stick to one thing. Why don't you just stick to one thing? Exactly.
It's not possible.
Tell me what you think about this, but I think the question of your one thing, it has to just like the litmus test of have you found your one thing is, does it work for you? Because if you were dabbling in photography and you were dabbling in marketing and someone said stick to something, well, you would miss the creator economy before it came about, right? Where you're doing marketing and photography and social media, right? Well, now that's one thing. Before it seemed like two, but separate things. So I think it's creating that that frame in your mind of focus. Yeah.
Well, that's also the component of like, to be the best in the world at something is very challenging, but to be the best in the world at two different things combined is not nearly as hard. Like you can be top 50% in two different things that nobody has done. Like I always think of the example, like you could be a YouTuber, you could be the best YouTuber, you could be Mr. Beast, or you could be like the best like blacksmith.
Yeah.
But you could be the best blacksmith YouTuber.
Yeah.
Easily, right?
Or the best blacksmith YouTuber. Tell me what you think about this. I really think that this is one of the biggest struggles in kind of like the Catholic media world right now, is that lots of people have followers, but no one's saying anything new. Or unique, and
which is okay in some cases.
In a way. Well, what do you mean by that? I'd be interested in what you mean.
It's like, everybody wants to have a digital apostolate, right? Like everybody wants to be an apologist. I've never considered myself really an apologist per se, because I'm talking to existing Catholics. I'm just trying to convince them of having ambition and being entrepreneurs. It's okay that we have like a zillion of those, because some are going to like unknowingly speak to a certain group of people in a way that's really important, because that will bring them to the faith, right?
Yeah.
Just like there's this whole thing going on in the social media world right now with like the conversions happening, where you've got, I won't say who, but we all know people who are relatively new to their faith becoming like the face of Catholicism in some way, like for young people. And it's clear to anybody who's truly Catholic that is not it. Like it is baby level faith, which is okay. Everybody starts somewhere, but that isn't okay. The reason I don't have a big issue with it is because that person will end up speaking to certain people. It's not going to speak to necessarily me, because I'm not super attracted to that. But for somebody who's completely off the deep end and has no connection to the faith, that might be the thing that brings them in and then allows them to drop the anchors. And that's okay. Hey folks, as a quick reminder, we have recently launched The Faithful Steward. This is a free private deal flow newsletter for Catholic investors to be made aware of opportunities to invest in other Catholic-owned or led companies or projects. These deal types will range from startup investment opportunities to film opportunities to real estate, anything you can think of, it will be in there. And it's totally free. We are not charging for this. We are just trying to help connect the community. To sign up, you can go to CatholicDealFlow.com. That's CatholicDealFlow.com. How it works is when we get a deal, we make sure that these guys are Catholic. We will then package it up really nicely, send it over to you, and then you can take a look and decide if you would like to reach out. The benefit of this is that you get to remain completely anonymous from all those capital seekers while still getting the benefit of seeing those deals. So you get the benefit of seeing the deals without the publicity of being known. We are not gatekeeping here, so just trying to use our role as a community connector to help Catholics invest in each other, and doing this all again for free. If you are a Catholic builder who is looking to raise capital, whether that again is for a film, for real estate, for a startup, or just a mom and pop brick and mortar business, you can go to CatholicDealFlow.com to sign up. You just submit your deck there and a bit of information about you. We'll reach out, we'll verify that you are in fact a practicing Catholic, then we'll package it all up and send it out to the newsletter, and if they're interested, they'll reach out to you. Again, that is CatholicDealFlow.com. It's completely free. You can sign up today. All right, back to the show.
I agree. I think what I would add to it is that there's a lot of people that aren't saying something new because they're scared. Yes. They're scared to put their unique personality into their message.
Yes.
Because, for example, there's only so many ways you can repeat the catechism sentence about the Eucharist as the true presence. And I think a lot of people, when they first get into content creation or putting a message out, They think what's most important is just the information. But what's actually important is an
Good job.
audience you care about and how you articulate it. Like you would explain, I'm agreeing with you, you would explain the true presence differently than how some, and not different in content, maybe just different in the packaging, different in the, you'd explain it to blacksmiths differently than you explain it to moms. And so I really love people kind of coming alive in what makes them unique. Because if Bonaventure or Thomas Aquinas looked at each other's writing and just went, well, they did it first, we wouldn't have had this other unique expression, you know, like, and they're very different theologians. So I think there's a fear that Catholics have. And, you know, when I was studying catechetics, that really was the heart of it. How do you take something it's written in a book, how do you take that and say it in a way that someone resonates with it?
Well, it's also interesting that I don't know how to articulate this well. I'll do my best. The church is a living body, right?
Mhm.
And we are in a different period of time now than we were 1,000 years ago. So it's not like, again, the message itself, nothing changes. It's just the delivery individually. It's also this, because it's a living thing, there's the idea of like a tree, right? Sometime a branch might become dead and it falls off, and then a new branch eventually grows. And it's like the church in one country or one region of the world, it might be on fire right now, and another, it might be still dying, right? Because they're not going through the same kind of natural progression, right? I think people are excited about the conversions in America right now, but I tend to look at it and say, well, I'm not upset by any means, but I'm also like cautious, and I say, okay, this is mostly a countercultural reaction to whatever existed before, which was basically like hedonism and just do whatever you want, right? People went so far on the one spectrum and into like self-serving that eventually people are like, I don't want that. I want whatever is the opposite of that. So they're coming to Christianity in some form or another. They may not be coming for the real reasons. They might be just becoming because they're countercultural. The younger generation tends to do the opposite of the former generation.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm okay with the conversions, but I'm also like, I feel like I'm relatively clear-eyed about this may not necessarily be something about the faith. It's just natural human tendencies. But now this is the opportunity to make sure that we take these new converts and bring them deep, because the surface level is, I mean, anybody who's had even just a year or two in the spiritual life of pursuit of it knows that there is like endless levels going and going and going. You'll never understand what level of 1 million is like, because you can just keep going forever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we're reaching a phase now where the church is really encouraging us to not just repeat the same information, but to go out into the digital, you know, this digital missionary territory and to be Catholic there, you know, be Catholic where we're planted. And I mean, that was my journey too, was finding the courage to do that, you know?
Yeah. Being Catholic where we're planted is really, I think it's really critical, because you know, we're always like, oh, we got to go evangelize to this nation or help the poor in another country. It's like, what about your neighbor, right? Like, what about your family?
Yeah.
I was definitely guilty of this at one point, like trying to figure out, oh, who's the group I'm supposed to go help? And then the priest is just like, what are you doing? Like, it's the people you can't leave. Like, it's the people that live next to you, your family, etc. So we have to start there. But there's two big, I want to make sure we get through at least a bunch of this stuff today. One thing that is like the modern articulation of entrepreneurship is you got to pick a thing and you got to do it really well for a very long time, and that's it. Now, we talked a little bit about this, but you have many things that you're doing at once, and you kind of said that they all effectively serve the same general purpose, right? And it's kind of your unique calling. But do you actually think that doing a lot of things is the wrong way to do entrepreneurship, or is there just not really a wrong way? Like, what is your perspective on it? Do you have regrets about how you do multiple things? Like, how do you think about this?
Well, I mean, a few things. Like, first of all, I mean, for people who don't know, the creator economy, I think it was Goldman Sachs said by 2027, it's going to be a $450 billion industry. It's a massive thing. And by creator economy, we mean like people who do some type of content creation, but also have a business around it. The other thing that people don't...
That's not including like the actual like revenue from selling the products that they're like creating.
It's all of it. Another thing people I didn't realize is that, I mean, over 90% of the U.S. economy, I think it's like 99% of the U.S. economy is made up of small businesses. And then there's this growing group, which is micro businesses. Businesses have 0 employees. So you combine that with AI, which allows people to just like really increase their effectiveness. And then you start having freelancers look much more like just business owners. I think that that's the trajectory that just kind of the economy and the market is going. And no, I mean, for me personally, like, I think of it all as under the umbrella of personal solopreneurship or creatorpreneurship. And so, yeah, no, I don't really have any regrets of that. I think like
Is your goal to keep it that way, to be like solo with contractors kind of thing?
Yeah, like I
I'm
think
sure you have like people help you with some stuff, right?
not me. I mean, I work on teams with people, but no, I mean, the
Oh, really?
projects
Okay.
I'm on are either working with the team in digital content or it's my own like little solo things. But yeah, I mean, at least for me, I like thinking of them as little projects. So Zealous Parish Ministers is a brand and project to help Catholic parish ministers. My personal brand is for Catholic content creators. And I think of them as like these projects, you want to get them up and get them self-sustaining. But I think for me personally, I like getting something started, getting it set up, and then, all right, cool. What's something else we can do? What are other things? And that's, I don't know if you're familiar with Working Genius, but I like the wonder invention stuff.
Yeah, I think mine is invention and galvanizing.
Oh, nice.
I believe. Yeah. I don't think it's wonder, but no, this is fascinating because I wonder, do a lot of your projects end up kind of helping serve the other?
Oh, yeah. That was the huge realization, was when I started being unafraid to just lean into what is my unique contribution or voice, like what's the unique life mission I want to be about. I realized it was cordial communication is what I'm calling it, or cordial creators. And it's the idea of the human heart and combining these like connections between things like marketing and secular storytelling and the Catholic anthropology. And I used to be embarrassed about that. And now I'm like, man, that really is the core of everything I do. And I mean, it took me a long time to be able to articulate it.
Yeah, but then it also becomes like your thing, and then by being willing to allow those things to kind of blossom in different directions wherever your interests are taking you, you again become the only person who has this particular perspective on something,
100%.
and it makes you more interesting to guest on other podcasts or whatever, like
100%.
speak somewhere, and that's you leaning into your thumbprint, like your very unique
100%. People that are listening, like, I mean, the advice I would give for people to take away is just like reflect on the fact that ideas don't spread because they're true. Ideas spread because they're interesting. And it comes from this guy, Davis Murray, who is a sociologist. He wrote this whole paper where he studied all these academic journals in sociology. And he was trying to figure out is the level of truth what made an idea spread, or was it the interestingness? Now, that doesn't mean we want to spread false truth or false information. But he said people spend less time thinking about how to make an idea interesting. And it's interestingness, we're wired in our brains to be drawn to things that are interesting. And interesting things challenge our preconceived notions, but not too much. They're things that are right on the edge of challenging these loosely held beliefs.
Because otherwise you would just completely reject it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating to think about it, because then it's like if you're trying to reach a particular audience, like you want to package things in a way that it is that, but it's also hard because you have to maintain the truth. But there's how do I think about this? Like when you're trying to play the game of getting attention, like you have to be willing to put in the effort. You can't just like make a thing and call it good. I'll admit, like we are pretty good at making podcasts, but we're terrible at making YouTube thumbnails. Like I don't really focus on YouTube.
Who's we? Us?
My particular podcast.
You probably make way better thumbnails than me.
No, they're like optimized to just basically give you the information and be in a kind of a standard format, because that way my team can like take care of it. I don't have to worry about like having to be creative every time. But if we were really going deep on like we want to grow YouTube, we'd have to get interested in making a YouTube specific thumbnail so that it draws in the people. But at least I'm happy with the growth we're having on Substack. So there's that, right? But no, I like this idea. There's a lot of things we could talk about there, but just in general for people listening, like don't be afraid to lean into it. I've personally been, I guess, like beating myself up about. I run a recruitment consultancy. I have Catholic founders, and then I help my dad with some stuff. And then I'm also just like, I also run another podcast in the clean tech world, which is where I recruit for. It's kind of my client acquisition. So there's all these projects that are constantly pulling me in different directions, but I just really like them. I don't want to set any one of them down, right? But I oftentimes beat myself up because I'm like, well, if I was like the greats, I would just do one thing and I'd do the only thing. When I listen to a founders podcast, for example, those guys, like, I just can't be like them, right? You talked about it, like being kind of all over the place, ADHD. It's like, that is kind of who I am. And to try to be not like that, you don't want to let it run your life. Yeah. But to try to like completely bury the talent or gift or personality God gave you, I don't think is good either.
No. And I think as someone who has struggled in the past with being self-critical and judgmental, and you hear all these voices, and I think what has helped is saying, where are those voices coming from that I have to do something different, and leaning into like, no, I'm going to carve out my own thing and I'm going to call it whatever I want. If I want to call it solopreneur, if I want to call it like this is just what I do. And as long, there's other things to watch too. Like, is it effective? Are you fruitful? Are you sustainable? Like your mental health, your spiritual health. But as long as those things are kind of taken care of, then who cares? Follow the things you want to do.
Yeah, and we don't need overnight success, right? It's okay if it takes a long time.
Yeah.
This is something I really struggle with all the time. I'm like, I just want these things to pop off,
Yeah. Oh, dude, all of us. But again, I mean, that's the other thing that's helped is long-term mindset. Just being like, look, people would say all the time, I'm sure you've heard this when they find out, oh, what do you do? Oh, it's some entrepreneur stuff. Oh man, well, 99% of businesses fail or whatever, business ideas fail. And I remember one time realizing like, yeah, but I'll never fail because I'll come up with another idea. Like as long as I just keep coming up with ideas, just keep pursuing things, at some point you'll find it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's also like the hard part for me is knowing that consistency does lead to good outcomes typically makes it really hard for me to ever entertain the idea of letting something shut down. Like if something is, even if it's just breaking even, it's like making enough money, it's like it's not costing me money, the idea of shutting it down just feels like no, because what if it's just around the corner? Like what if the success, I've got this other podcast is like five years and some change old, and it's still like it's not crazy, right? But it works for the purposes of helping me get customers. So I let it keep going. But you have a lot of thoughts with the Faith and AI project. But let me, before we go into this, can you just explain a little bit more about that particular project? What is it like? Where should people find it, and what's the purpose of it?
Yeah, so the goal, I started with Edmundo Reyes, so it's a project of Digital Continent, and the idea is to help people understand, navigate, and harness AI with the wisdom, confidence, and hope of the church. That's the line, that's the pitch. But the idea is to talk to experts in the like Catholic experts and non-Catholic experts, and talk to people about navigating this. The real genesis of it was Edmundo had a chance to go to Rome to this forum where all of these top experts on AI were speaking, these scholars and professors and people who are founders and stuff. And he was listening to all these conversations going, man, if people could hear these conversations, like we got to get this conversation out to the world. So my job is to help ask the questions that maybe other people would want to ask of, Dr. Brett Robinson, who's at the McGrath Institute at Notre Dame, who's talking about like communication ecology and AI, or who are some, oh man, I'm blanking. This is Leticia Garcia from Harvard Leadership Institute and her like thoughts on AI. Jose, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his last name. He's like a material science engineer from MIT, and he's deeply Catholic, but also using AI in the classroom. So it's fascinating. And it's interesting because the secular world is finding out through the development of AI that they have weak or no anthropology, like that you need an ontology to build these things off of. And so they're getting more interested in philosophy and ethics and morality. I mean, the self-driving car challenge is like such a huge thing. And it's a great example of this, where you think you can just be a nerdy tech guy and build self-driving cars, and pretty soon you're in a room talking about the train trolley conundrum, So it's really, really interesting. That's a project, podcast, content.
Quick question for all the Catholic business owners listening. Are you running your business, or is your business running you through all of the admin tasks that you're doing on a regular basis? We see so many founders doing repeatable administrative tasks, and that's why we started Paraclete VA. We bridge the gap by connecting you with high-quality, Catholic, and vetted virtual assistants from all around the world who come from our existing network so that we know we can trust them. And so can you. Many of our Catholic Founders Guild members have hired through this service and are using this to offload their finance, marketing, administrative, and other busy work so that they can focus on what really matters and growing their business. It's the stuff that needs to get done but shouldn't be done by you. The cost is simple. Pay $500 on the day the candidate starts, and $500 if you're still happy with them after 30 days. Most hires take less than 10 days to fill. Just email admin@catholicfounders.com with a little bit about what you're looking for. We'll send you some candidates, you do some interviews. Most of the time, you'll have your hire in under 10 days, and this way you can start focusing on what really matters. Stop doing the busy work and start moving the needle. Is it a lot of written content too? Because I've only known about the podcast part.
Yeah, we've wanted to expand into that. I mean, it's really, normally there have been times where we get some type of funding for a project or we collaborate with someone. And this was one that Edmundo and I were just like, we just want this to exist. So we're bootstrapping ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, because so for anybody who didn't hear it, I would highly recommend. You might have to fix me on this, but you helped to host a debate between Matthew Harvey Sanders, who's been on the pod, and Mark Barnes, from New Polity.
Yep.
I don't know if I want to ask you to summarize it, but I'll just tell people to go listen to it. It can be found on your guys' platform, but they debate kind of like Mark Barnes is generally like anti-chatbot, let's put it that way, and Matthew Harvey Sanders with a long beard is obviously not.
Yeah.
So it's a really good debate. I recommend everybody check it out. I'm not going to necessarily insert my opinion there. You might hear it in a few minutes, but
no, it was spicy because Mark Barnes came out and just wrote an article saying delete
Magisterium AI. Yeah. Speak about thumbnails, man.
Yeah,
that's some good marketing on his side. But he also is a businessman who runs like a grocery store, right?
Huge fan. I'm a huge fan of what they're doing in Steubenville and all that. Like,
speak about interesting ideas.
I know. It's awesome.
Some of it's too deep. Like the books they put out, I'm like, I can't personally get through these. But I love the podcast. So let's talk about this then. With AI, I guess first of all, let's start with what is your perspective on, the general consensus. There's people who are like, oh no, AI is so bad, we shouldn't touch it as Catholics, and then people like we should lean into it, like with what Matthew is doing with Builders AI Forum. I know he got a new executive director recently, but we want to have the church involved in it. Pope Leo has talked about this. We want to be involved in leading these things because, as we talked about early on the show today with Matt Ingold from Metanoia, the abdication of Catholics in certain industries has led to standard business practices, as they so call them, being devoid of morality. Because it's like, how do you make the most money without totally pissing off your customers, right? If we do that with AI, there's a lot of consequences, right? Like the whole idea of social media, as bad as it is because we weren't there. So what is your general perspective on how AI can be good for the church and also just good for this idea of being an entrepreneur in general? As a Catholic who, we want to provide for our families, we want to be able to have autonomy to go to daily mass, do what we want without having to be corporate monkeys. Like, I don't know where you want to take this. Kind of open floor for you.
Yeah, so AI is, it is one of the biggest world-changing shifts, and I don't say that lightly. Like, I know there's lots of things that come along where we might be tempted to say that, but when electricity was invented, at first it was like, wow, these currents are running through these wires. But it changed everything because then after electricity, all these other creative things are invented. It totally changed. It changed absolutely everything. It changed when we go to sleep and wake up. It changed how we think and talk and operate and organize. So AI is one of the most, it is the most groundbreaking thing. I thought the internet and social media was going to be the most revolutionary thing, but AI really is. And you're right. In my experience, people are either boom or doom. So it's either this is a miracle from heaven or this is the Antichrist, right? Like this is gonna. I feel like not enough people are taking it seriously. Not enough Catholics are taking it seriously and understanding exponential change, like exponential growth curves. Because with social media, you could be kind of behind on social media and you had a longer period of time to maybe catch up. But AI is moving so rapidly that even the YouTubers using AI to talk about the new developments are having a hard time keeping up. Claude just announced that they're releasing Mythos, which is their new model, and compared to Opus, which was their past model, which did not come out that long ago. Like
a couple months ago. Right?
Yeah, not that long ago. Opus, when they did tests on security issues, they would try to force it to break these kind of like security walls or whatever, right? Like, so I think the Opus model would do it like 8% of the time. Mythos is like 89% of the time. So they're having to have emergency meetings. I think just recently, a couple days ago, they're having emergency meetings.
Because they're able to break it. It's like able to do security. Oh, okay.
So I'm trying to not get too technical, but like any secure website or anything, if they threw it at it to test it, 89% of the time it's breaking through. So they're having to have emergency meetings. Just a few days ago, they met with Morgan & Morgan and all the top bank executives to be like, we can't release this to the public yet. We have to go and tell everyone because it's a massive security issue. Because imagine being able to point, a $20 a month subscription service at
public infrastructure.
Yeah, at like NSA or the CIA's website and just get access to it 80% of the time. Like, it's scary and it's moving really quickly. Now, I don't think we should be afraid of it, but I also don't think we should just throw ourselves completely into it. And I do think it fundamentally changes the way that we think about work and think, like the way you interact with AI. If you think, I don't know if you're young enough to remember, but when Google first came out, people were typing things like, the way you would, before you'd ever use the search bar, you're like, where is my favorite store? Like you didn't know how to use it. And then pretty soon now you're like, Mass, Grapevine, 2 p.m. Sunday. You learn how to use it. AI is that times 100. I mean, it totally shifts the way your brain works about or thinks through.
Well, yeah, it's also like I haven't talked about this in the pod, so I can try to do my best summarizing this, because if anybody isn't familiar, I used to think about AI as like, here's a repeatable task I do all the time, and I'm just gonna like try to get this thing so that I prompt it to do X, and then it takes care of that thing. But my friend who's like really deep into this stuff and works at a big AI company, he's like, no, you need to think about having it literally do the task. Like it doesn't have to be prompted by you and like, here's start, go. It's like it will read the email, it will do these things, it'll arbitrage, and it will basically completely offload components of your work. And if you can start to do that, you have more time. The thing that I struggle with a lot right now is I'm frustrated at the fact that the world demands so much of us, even just to manage our lives. So I was joking with somebody earlier, like managing your life, like paying the electricity bill, like changing your address when you move, if your credit card gets hacked, like changing all that stuff, like that feels like a full-time job. And I guarantee it 50 years ago, it probably didn't, right? So that, and then on top of it, you're trying to run a business, you're trying to be present with your family, trying to help out in your parish. Like it's how do you do it? But my positive hope is that with AI, a lot of these things can be fixed, and you can have a lot more time with your family. You can have time for leisure.
Well, 100%. Like we could talk about some of the scary things and the negatives and the drawbacks, but the positives, I mean, I'll go even a step further. Like just in the past couple months, it's, the development of how I'm using it has gotten to the point where you have something like a Jarvis companion AI that then is routing stuff to an entire team of agents. So now I'm operating at the stage where I have a research agent, a content creation agent, SEO agent, like you have an entire team, and you're more like on the board advising your company of agents that are taking care of things. And that changed everything.
How do you think about whenever it comes to like the human outreach component? Because I run a recruitment consultancy. That's how I actually pay the bills. But I refuse to use AI to like craft the final emails. Like I might ask it for advice when I have like a spicy situation with one of my customers. I'm like, I really want to write this mad email, and I get it to change it to make it more docile, whatever. But I won't have it like I could never consider releasing Claudebot on like, oh, go reach out to these people and tell them I have a job opportunity for them. I don't care if it's accurate at finding the people. I don't feel good about the idea that I didn't actually see that person and as a human to another human through the internet send them a message. Like I'll copy paste things and like put their name in it, right? But I still intentionally knew it was that person and for them, and it was still a human to human situation, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the biggest things, or this is one of the most common topics that comes up when I'm talking to people about this, because everyone's seen AI slop, and it's kind of like the bad toupee fallacy. Like you think all toupees are bad, and it's like, well, it's
you
only one.
See the ones.
Yeah. So 3 things really quickly that I'd say. First of all, there's a difference between automated and automatic. Something that's automatic, I automatically send a text, or I automatically get a reminder to send a text to my sister when it's her birthday. That's automatic. Automated is a robot sends and crafts a text and sends it to my sister. So we want to avoid automated things, but we want to avoid automating things that should be a human touch and are built on trust and connection. But we want to make other things automatic. And so the second thing I'd say is context. Like context. I mean, the next 6 months to 12 months is going to be all about your personal data. And so when you can take, like I have, 30 hours of recordings of me talking and help craft some of a message or an article or whatever, there's just so much more you can do with that. And then the third thing I would say...
And you think it can get to the point where it does, like in your writing, it will help actually imitate your style?
So in my experience, I'm less interested in it actually writing out full sentences as much as the third point I was going to say is that thinking about the process from beginning to end of an article.
Oh, okay.
So instead, most people do this and I did this when I first started out. I would sit down and go, write an article about this. And then you start getting more complex where you say, in this voice with this style, blah, blah. To get even more complex is to use it as a thinking partner and to say, I have this idea and this idea, pull from this resource and this, and then let's come up with ideas. Let's come up with an outline. What is the structure of an outline? Like, what's my approach to a LinkedIn article? What's my template of an outline? And having it help along the way with that. And so you can get to a pretty good first draft that you revise.
Structure is the key thing for me. That's typically how I use it, because like I just spit out. I think this is probably with a lot of ADHD people. It's like I just spit out the things, and I realize after I read it back, if I read it really slowly, that I made these connections between these things, and nobody understands what I'm saying. So I'll ask it like to restructure it. But
dude, you're gonna be. I mean, like, this is your time, because AI is for people with ADHD. Because another thing is, it is really good at organizing, connecting, structuring. So you can go on a walk and just record audio for 2 hours. Just here are all my ideas on this topic. Let's come up with interesting ways to combine this, present this, and it's going to help you come up with your unique IP, which is what I really love, is helping people use all of that context to say, what are interesting ways we can package this and make craft, like, what is the heart of your, what I call like a brand thesis or your brand narrative.
And then the key thing I would assume you would agree with this is, then like once you have that, then what I typically do is I go and I basically rewrite everything in that structure so that it is my exact language, because I usually can't stand what it puts out, even though I have also tons of stuff I say, use my voice, because I have written so many things, right? I still don't like it, so I rewrite it. But I would assume you would agree with, like, you want it to still be you, because that also helps it come through the noise of all the other stuff people could be reading, right?
Yeah, I mean, the other day I wrote something on LinkedIn and I purposefully just like mashed the keyboard a bunch, and then at the beginning of it, just to test, like, hey, no one's doing that. No AI is doing that. Just so
I do typos intentionally.
Yeah,
all the time.
Huge thing now.
Yeah,
it's so huge that I've heard people talk about telling their AI to put in typos.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I didn't think about that one, but no, I've done intentional typos for a long time. So people, because recruiting is not like the most forward industry, but it is enough that people have been using these like automated tools, and I hope that helps. But so okay, that's interesting. So you started your entrepreneurial journey before we had these LLMs, right? But if you think about the person who is, maybe they're young, they're either just about to get married or they're newly married, maybe they've got a small family already, and they want the freedom of entrepreneurship that it can provide. Like, how is your advice to them about how to go about that, considering the idea of AI? And you can talk about specifics if you want, or you can talk about, like, broadly speaking, here's like how I could see this playing out and helping more Catholics escape being corporate monkeys and having to just kind of grin and bear it, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to say stuff that is not new for you, but I mean, first of all, it's just realizing that, I mean, the game is already over. Like, if you're in the old model of the Industrial Revolution, the public school system, I mean, it was there to train people to be good employees. But the AI world is much more geared towards entrepreneurs. And these are people that are intrinsically motivated, who can come up with a direction to go their own. So instead of what's the correct answer to the question, an entrepreneur is saying, what is the question? And so the other thing I would say is, I mean, really practical advice I would say is get over the hurdle as soon as possible of selling something. Like, I don't care what it is. Like,
that wasn't hard for me. My first job was sales. Yeah.
Flip something on Amazon or whatever. And then another thing I would say is, like, don't, like, tell yourself that you know nothing about what it means to be an entrepreneur, a business person, or whatever. Like don't worry about, at what point am I an entrepreneur? Well, business people need to do X or Y or whatever. Like, at the end of the day, you're trying to find a way to support yourself by an exchange of value. That's it. And so just look for ways that you can do that. And yeah, I mean, that's like real highlight. We could go deeper into stuff, but that would be my, man, if I was in an elevator with someone, I would give them.
Yeah. A Catholic founder is somebody who recognizes that they are called to be an instrument of God's will in the world. We're not building a business for our own sake. We are simply stewards. If that describes how you think about entrepreneurship, we want you in the Catholic Founders Guild. We're growing an association of Catholic business owners who believe in these things deeply so that we can invest in, buy from, and support one another. We do this through our exclusive membership directory, monthly group calls, and our group chat. But there's a lot more to it than that. The Guild has a lot to offer. The cost is only $10 a month or $100 a year. So if you believe that you were created to create, join the Catholic Founders Guild today. You can do so by going to catholicfounders.com/subscribe and upgrade to any paid subscription. See you in the guild. That's good. I think that the reason I just want to talk about my excitement for this space right now, because I believe I've seen just in my own life in the past like year-ish, two very specific examples of my brother and a friend of his who I don't think were inclined to entrepreneurship like really at all. But they started businesses, and I think they'll probably in this like first full year of business, I think they'll probably both do about 100 grand in revenue. Like
Nice.
nowhere Wisconsin, that's good money. Like, you can provide for
Yeah.
a family on that. And I'm just excited for the opportunity because I don't think they would have considered entrepreneurship if it wasn't for some of these like things being easier.
Yeah.
It might have had to do with I was in their life and I kind of give them some direction, but I want to see more of that because if we can do this, we can then start to stop working for these bad companies and they will have a hard time finding, I mean, they'll find people, right? But they may not be the best people to work for them or they may not be motivated. But then we can start to build our own versions and we can do this. Like, I want to talk about this a little bit if we have time, but micro economy, like micro companies, because that is us leaning into our unique skill set, because our unique skill set may not be something that is really conducive to building $1 billion business, but it is something that's conducive to provide enough for us and our family to be.
Right? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a difference between, I forget what the other one's called, but there's like what's called like a lifestyle business. So something that makes like under 150, $130 million a year, and like a venture company, like something that's an accelerated rapid growth you're going to raise money for. And I think in the creator economy, it is very doable to get to. Maybe I don't want people to get scared and to hear me say it's so easy to do this, but in the 6 figures to $1 million a year, like that is very doable, especially today with all of these tools. And then you have people like Sam Altman and others who are saying, oh, but in the next couple of years, there's gonna be a sub 5 employee company that makes over $1 billion a year in revenue. Like,
I think we already saw that's gonna happen this year, I think.
Oh, really?
So there's a guy, they're on track to hit $1 billion revenue this year.
Yeah.
With I think it's two people.
Yeah, and I mean, I really love this old article by I think it's Kevin Kelly, and it's called 1,000 True Fans. Have you heard of this?
Yes.
And the idea of like take 1,000 true fans, the people that would buy everything you put out, and multiply that by like I don't know, like $50, $100. Like if you put out a product that's $100 and you find your 1,000 true fans, I mean, you're supporting yourself at that point, right?
Well, this is the other thing too, is like I'll call it like the private equityization of everything. The consumer is just a number now. And the idea of having more personalized components, I think that is only truly possible through more like a substantially high number, like a magnitude bigger number of entrepreneurs doing that specific thing, so that people can have that personalized product that they like because it just does that thing for them, or they like that content because it does that particular thing. And that's the other component, is like we have the opportunity, because AI will really change a lot of things. It will transform things in a way that allows us to have more, if this kind of universal basic income thing is true, we'll have more time to want things personal. We're going to be so sick of the digital normal, like whitewashed everything, that we will want more physical things. Like I heard just recently that there's people making well over close to $1 million a year, writing a handwritten letter that gets copied and sent out to people who pay them $10 or $20 a month just to get a single letter from one random person on the internet.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I get ads already for services you can sign up for that will create AI-driven personalized storefronts, so that even just how the whole website and the products look. And I mean, it's like a version of the algorithm, but this is going to be way more complex. The world is going to feel like it gets much smaller in the sense that everything is going to be more personalized. Yeah,
which I like. And this is the thing that I think was in some ways holding us back, because I don't know, we're running out of time to cover this, but there was, I believe it was Lucas Wall talked about this on the pod a long time ago. He's at Catholic University of America, and he's doing some AI stuff. But he was saying that we have had a monopoly on knowledge work for so long that we kind of thought this is our thing, right? But that also is like a shallow understanding of who we are. Like, we are humans, we are children of God, which is a much deeper understanding than I'm like a guy with brains. And by the knowledge work rug getting ripped out from under us in some ways, it's allowing us to ask the question, oh, well, what is my real worth? Like, what is, if I'm not valuable because of the my brain power, where am I valuable? And then like his hope and my hope would be that people come to understand that they have intrinsic value.
Yeah.
As humans, like they it doesn't matter what they do. Like they have value as a child of God.
Yeah, I mean, when the printing press was first invented, to have a print physical book, you had to pay something like what a house today would cost.
Wow.
Then you have the information age and the internet causing this information economy where suddenly everyone has access to information. I think the way I like saying it is that we're now going into the insight economy. So now information is just everywhere. So this next phase is not so much about the information. If everyone has access to all the information in the world, what becomes valuable is exactly what you're saying. The unique insights you make, which are connections between ideas and information, which ultimately in the Catholic sense is wisdom. So it's saying, it's like sitting in front of some of the people that you work for or work with or whatever and saying, I'm going to help you find what information and connections you need. And that's the insight economy that I think is going to become, we're going to really lean more and more towards that over the next year or so.
And you think that's going to be like long term, or do you think that will also get eaten up?
Well, I mean, there's always, there will be something next. But I think for as long as knowledge work and the information age has kind of been a thing, I think we're going to call this next phase something very different. I think insight economy.
Yeah.
I've heard people talk about wisdom or mentors, or I think we're going to have less of an expert who just gives you the information like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye. We're going to have people that have a way of sitting in front of you and coming up with the right wisdom, the right thing to say for your specific situation.
Yeah. And I think it's, I don't know, this is again, just why I'm so excited about this opportunity, because it allows everybody to have the chance to go deeper on what they're uniquely qualified for. So there's a number of things there. We got to wrap up. We're kind of out of time here, but I want to add, I'm going to do a rapid fire. I'm going to add one extra that I usually don't ask. What is your favorite scripture?
All fat belongs to the Lord. Leviticus 3:15b. All fat belongs to the Lord. Sometimes when I'm standing in front of the mirror, I'm just like, there's a lot of me that belongs to the Lord.
Oh man, stand-up comedy. What is this is the one I don't always ask. Like, what is a book that you really like, very impactful to you, that you think a lot of like young people right now should read?
Oh man, there's so many. Jonathan Haidt, The Righteous Mind: Why Good People Are Divided on Politics and Religion.
That's a little bit older one, right?
Yeah.
It's not his newest.
No, but that's a good one. That's really good. And that touches on the core that I found for myself and my mission, which is like the human intuition and the heart. I think that's kind of like the secular version. He's kind of coming up with the same insights that Augustine and JP2 were coming up with, and Dietrich von Hildebrand.
Yeah.
And the heart.
Oh, I do remember that one thing I wanted to recall too, and I'm going to interrupt myself here because I want to really point out and encourage Catholics right now that are listening that because of all of the disruption and confusion, we should be so thankful that we have truth and morality to lean on, and we have these anchors, because the number of people who are going to have lost all sense of stability and understanding of who they are is going to be really hard for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's just, we should be very grateful for this. We have the upper hand in a way, because we know how to navigate life in these times of uncertainty, because we know what matters in eternity. So
amen, brother.
We'll finish these things off here. Who's your favorite entrepreneur?
Me.
Who's your favorite saint currently, at least?
Saint Ignatius of Loyola, I think currently.
Legend.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite devotion?
Your devotion. Devotion to the Sacred Heart. Yeah, Sacred Heart.
Amazing. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. We should probably do like 6 more of these episodes.
I've been told
we got to let the next guests come on. So thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for Fio for helping to make this happen.
Thanks, Fio.
And the YCP conference. Check it out next year, guys. It's really awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I want to ask you a big favor. We are trying to make the Catholic Founders podcast a more consistent part of people's weeks. So if you are here at the end, we want to ask you to help us out. Yes, you are here at the end, so you must be very loyal. Please go to your favorite podcast player, if you're not already, and click follow, click subscribe, whatever it says there, the thing that allows you to get notified when we publish a new episode. Then leave us a review so we can increase our reach. This is very important. We're putting a lot of effort into this. And if you like it, which we know many of you do because you email us about it, please do us a favor, help us out, subscribe, and leave a review. It really genuinely helps. If you don't know how tech and the algorithms work, trust me, This is important. If you also have any dream guests that you would like us to share on the podcast, please reach out with your suggestions. We're always open to hearing them. We love discovering new people, even if they're not super popular Catholic entrepreneurs, whether they're maybe somebody in your neighborhood running a small business that's just making a big impact on the world. We love to hear about them. So reach out with your suggestions. You can do that at admin@catholicfounders.com. All right, folks, God bless you. And do not forget that you were created to create.